Welcome to Vote Who with me, Andrew Gilligan. With just days to go before the British general election, we're tackling the big questions the mainstream media find too hot to handle. Vote Who has been live every day this week. Today, in the last show of this special series, we're asking just how democratic is Britain? As always, wherever you're from, we invite you to put your questions to your panel. With us today, John Rees, Associate Editor of the online journal counterfire.org, MEHDI HASAN, Senior Editor of the new Statesman magazine, and last but not least, Jeremy Corbyn, Labour MP for 27 years, who's hoping to get re-elected in his North London constituency on Thursday. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Now, if you want to ask our panel anything, call us now on 44208 601 4555 or send us a text 44780 000 8066. If you prefer to send us an email, you can do that too. The address is votewho@presstv.co.uk. You can see those numbers on the bottom left of your screen now. So, John, how democratic is Britain today?
Well, obviously we have parliamentary democracy. We have the right to vote, freedom of speech and assembly. They were hard fought for rights. We didn't get them till quite late on, 1928, before there was universal suffrage in this country. So, yes, compared to dictatorial regimes, yes, we are a democratic country. But you have to say that the political choices before people are very limited. Noam Chomsky famously said about the United States that it was a totalitarian system with two different factions. And you can kind of see that point about Britain. The majority of people in this country don't want any kind of privatisation, 80% of them. No political party represents that point of view. The majority of people want the troops out of Afghanistan. No political party in this election represents that point of view. And you can go on through a series of absolutely fundamental questions that simply aren't being addressed by the political class. So there's a very big gap.
Do people get what they vote for in this country?
No, not under our system, unfortunately. You look at every government since World War II has been elected with less than 50% of the vote. The majority of the public have not backed the government in office. One of the interesting features of this election is now people are talking about electoral reform. It's so mad, this election, where the polls are all over the place. You've got three parties, any of them could be end up with their leader as Prime Minister. Actually, people are starting to say our system is dysfunctional, and those of us who were anoraks and campaigning for changing our broken electoral system now find that people in the pub agree with us and say this is mad. We could quite
seriously end up with a system where the party, Labour, which gets the third place in the popular vote, actually ends up first place in the number of seats.
Yes, that's how disproportionate our majoritarian so-called first-past-the-post system is. It gives all power to one party, even if that party doesn't have the majority of the vote. So in that sense, we're not as democratic as we should be, but like John, I agree, compared to other countries around the world, we're very democratic. It depends who you're comparing us to. Compare us to Germany, we're probably not as democratic as we could be. Compare us to Saudi Arabia, we're a beacon.
Jeremy Corbyn, a fairly tiny number of people in Islington North voted for you. You were elected, of course, but there was a reasonably low turnout and you got less than 50% of the vote, I think. How democratic is that?
I got more than 50% actually, but only slightly more. Is it democratic? I fought an election, I was elected, I'm fighting an election now, I don't know what the result's going to be. There is two debates going on in this election. There's a national debate on television and there's a huge amount of commentary in the newspapers that are telling us what we ought to be thinking. At a local level and hustings meetings and all the rest of it, there's the most bizarre range of opinions and everything else that are raised. In that sense, it is very, very democratic. I understand the points that are made about party support and seat delineation in Parliament afterwards. It's a fair point to make, but I do think it's very important to keep the single-member constituency, maybe alternative voting, maybe some other system within it, but that relationship, one person to a constituency, is actually, in my view, very important. OK,
well, we're going to question that subject. All this week we've been talking to members of the public about the issues that really count, and here is our first question for today.
Is the system we have in the UK, whereby MPs are responsible for their local constituencies, really working? Surely we best have a system where MPs deal with national issues and local issues are dealt with by local governments.
Good point, but it doesn't really work like that because MPs are elected, they tend to be known in their constituency. Thousands of people come and see me over the years. I try and take up their cases, but also I learn from them. I learn from them about the social security system, I learn from them about the immigration system, I learn from them about the housing problems. I'm able to relate that into Parliament.
A lot of the kind of things you do as a constituency MP are the kind of things that councillors should do, really, but that power has been swept up to central government. I mean, MEHDI HASAN, is this country too centralised?
Yeah, very much so. And we have, unfortunately, a political class that can be quite parochial on an individual level. We have MPs who see themselves first and foremost as looking after their local constituents' concerns on housing or whatever it is, cleaning the streets or all these local issues, which are important. But as you said, in other countries, there's strong enough local government. There are local mayors, there's regional government that takes care of these issues. And actually, when big national or international issues come along, we realise our political class are not quite up to it.
OK, I'll let you come back on the point I just made, Jeremy Corbyn, in a second. But MEHDI HASAN, you're talking about the need to localise. Actually, in this election, it's the Tories that are doing most talking, at least, about localising politics. Do you buy that? Do you think they're sincere about it? Are you going to be voting Tory?
No, I don't think they're sincere about it because, of course, the record of the Tory party is that they centralised power the most over 18 years of government, where Margaret Thatcher destroyed the independence of local government. Even now, while talking tough on giving power back to local communities, David Cameron and the Conservative Party are promising to offer freezes on council tax rates and prevent councils from raising their own tax, which is the fundamental right of a local government to be able to raise its own revenue, to have any kind of independence. So I don't buy all of that, actually. I do think actually none of the parties are very keen on handing power back to the people. And as I said, we have a system which encourages politicians to grab power and keep it at the centre, because it's a system that doesn't represent the majority of the people.
Jeremy Corbyn, on the councillor point, the things you do, aren't they better handled at local level by the council?
No, they're not necessarily, because if I understand what the housing needs are of the people in my constituency, I can do and succeed in getting more revenue out of central government into inner city housing because of that. If I understand what's going on in my local health service, I can do and succeed in demanding resources to deal with local health inequalities. Now, I come from a local government background. I was a councillor before. I was a union organiser in local government. I understand the need for greater power and independence for local government. But if you break the constituency MP link with the community, you end up with a super elite political
Nobody's
class.
suggesting that, are they?
No, I don't know. Some people are with multi-member constituencies.
That doesn't break a link, that just gives you more members. Well, it doesn't, it gives you more members.
No, it does, because it means your loyalty is then to a local or regional political committee rather than to a local community through your local Labour Party.
The majority
of
people don't even know who their local MP is, Jeremy, with respect.
Well, I'm not sure about that.
John Rees, come in on this. Where do you stand on this?
Well, I think there has to be a link between the local representative and the elections, but I do agree that there's been a huge evacuation of power out of local authorities. But in one way, the question is this, that we're dealing with economic forces which are global now. We're dealing with huge corporations. The truth of the matter is nobody, locally or nationally, says no to Tesco. And that's the question that's now evacuating faith in the political system. There are huge forces shaping people's lives, and nobody in the political system is capable of dealing with them.
So actually, if a localised power would simply be too powerless to take on the likes of Tesco.
It'd have to be very, very powerful. You'd have to have people in there with some political commitment to saying, when these people apply for planning permission, we aren't just going to turn over the next biggest housing estate or field into another supermarket.
OK, well, as well as video clips, we've got phone calls. This one's Renee from Manchester. Renee, welcome to the programme.
Thank you.
What's your question for our panel?
I guess my question is that do you think with all the legislation that the government seems to be doing nowadays, not only is it eroding our civil liberties, but it's actually affecting our how democratic our country is and how society is?
Good question. Let's put that to MEHDI HASAN.
I agree. I think democracy is not just about election every 5 years. It's not just about whether you get the vote. Lots of countries in the world offer their people the vote. I think you also have to have basic human rights, basic civil liberties, a certain culture that goes with that, a political culture, I mean, that goes with that. And I think in this country, unfortunately, one of the side effects of 13 years of Labour in office has been greater authoritarianism. We've seen things like anti-terrorism legislation, which I would argue is profoundly undemocratic, which gives the government the right, for example, to lock up people without charge for 28 days, or they wanted 90 days, etc., etc. So, yes, I sympathise with the views of that caller.
Jeremy Corbyn, does Labour's record on liberty really invalidate its claim to being a progressive party?
There's two records on liberty. One is the passage of the Human Rights Act, the International Criminal Court Act, endorsing the Rome Statute, and equalities legislation, disability rights legislation, anti-racist legislation, all of which is very good and I was very proud to support. The negative side is post-2001, the various pieces of counter-terrorism legislation which have given too much power to the police, given too much power for arrest, and have damaged civil liberties. But I have to say that it